Welcome to the No Sugarcoating Podcast. I am Amber Romaniuk, emotional eating, digestive, and hormone expert. I am also the founder of amberapproved.ca. I support professional women achieve optimal health through mindful eating, self-care, and overcoming self-sabotage with food. This podcast provides the honest truth on what you really need to create body freedom. The No Sugarcoating Podcast provides information on healthy living, lifestyle changes, nutrition, and diet, and is intended for informational purposes only. Always seek the advice of your healthcare practitioner regarding your health and nutrition program. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 205 of the No Sugarcoating Podcast. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving to all my fellow Canadians out there. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend, enjoying your turkey or whatever it is that you love to have. I know we're having a really lovely turkey dinner that I make with local turkey and gluten-free stuffing and homemade gravy and mashed potatoes and peas and carrots and like all of the simple things that I love, and homemade cranberry sauce and homemade pumpkin pie. Can't wait. So hope you're enjoying your Thanksgiving and hope you're having a wonderful day. This week is all about your immune system. So we're in fall. A lot of people start to get vulnerable to colds and flus. And so I really wanted to talk about stress and immune health, emotional eating and low immunity, and simple ways to strengthen your immune health. Because believe it or not, the emotional eating piece plays a huge role in immune health. So do hormones, digestion. So I'm going to talk about all of that right away. So I'm really excited to share this episode with you guys. So you can stay tuned for the show note announcements at the end of the show. I do just want to share one thing, however, before I dive into today's topic. And if you're struggling with your immune health, if you're always catching colds and flus, if you suspect your hormones are out of whack, your digestion isn't working properly, and you're bloated and you're tired and you feel like you're sensitive to so many foods, and maybe you're also on top of all of that struggling with emotional eating, body image struggles, the diet mentality. Well, if you are struggling with these things and these podcasts are resonating with you and you're going, you know what, I think I want some support to help me navigate optimal health, food freedom, and body freedom. Well, this is the perfect time because as I've been sharing, I'm offering a fall coaching sale on my 6-month and 1-year programs, including my new Hormone Harmony program as well. So this is a significant savings. This is $1,000 savings on 6-month and 1-year coaching programs that is going on right now. So if you're wanting to learn more and you want to connect, I offer a 30-minute complimentary body freedom consultation where we can connect, talk about your current struggles with your health and well-being, your goals, what may be holding you back, and perhaps what a different approach may do for you. And I'll go through everything in detail, answer all of your questions. So if you're interested in taking advantage of the fall savings, please email me at info@amberapproved.ca with the subject line Fall Coaching Sale to learn more about the programs and how this may potentially be exactly what you need. And I look forward to connecting with you when you reach out. So if you're finding a specific eating style isn't working for you, your immune health is low, you're dealing with emotional eating, food addiction, digestive issues, and inflammation, again, you suspect those hormones are out of whack, your self-care continues to be low on your priority list, and so are you. And unfortunately, what's happening with that is you're battling and fighting with your weight, you feel insecure, and it's having an impact on every area of your life. So welcome, you're in the right place because these are all of the habits and mindsets that I'm going to continue to dive into to help set you on a different path. Amber Approved offers private coaching for hormonal imbalances, weight loss and digestive issues, emotional eating, and more. Contact Amber at amberapproved.ca to book your 30-minute complimentary consultation today. So stress and immune health. Everyone has stress, especially I find over here in North America, there's a lot of stress. We're in this go mentality. Everyone wants everything right now. We want to overachieve. We want to, be at the top and push ourselves and challenge ourselves. And I'm all for challenging and growth and having goals, but not to the point where it's going to stress my body out to the point where it's going to make me sick or give me symptoms and not make me feel well. And so I really wanted to talk about stress I think people don't realize how big of an impact stress has on the body, especially when it comes to immune health. So I want to just explain a little bit about stress and how it impacts your immune system, and then delve into how digestive stress impacts the immune system, because they go hand in hand. So stress occurs as life happens. So you have different life events that happen, depending on the relationship you have with yourself, the relationship you have with food and those around you. All of these pieces can create stress. And, what happens is when you start to become overwhelmed and you have way too much stress on your plate regularly, you may experience negative emotions like overwhelm, worry, fear, frustration, panic, anxiety, really low moods, and you just may not feel like yourself. And I've talked before about that fight or flight response or the stress response. And so what happens is when you have the stress and you're experiencing regularly, you produce higher levels of cortisol, which is the stress hormone. Now, in small amounts, cortisol production can boost your immunity by limiting inflammation, but that's only short amounts once in a while, not all the time. So what ends up happening is over time, we have multiple stressors happening every day or quite often, and the body starts producing too much cortisol, and the body can't kind of calm down to recoup and slow down the production. So what happens is you end up with too high of cortisol levels in the blood, and that can increase your chances of inflammation. In addition, stress can lower your lymphocytes, and the lymphocytes are the white blood cells, and those help you fight off infection. So the lower your white blood cell count, the higher chances you have for catching things like viruses, colds or flus, and or hanging on to them for longer and just being sick and more run down for longer, especially if you're the kind of person that you find you'll catch a cold or flu and then you maybe have it for a few days, weeks, and you start to feel better, but then it kind of comes back around and you get knocked back down and you get sick again. This is all signs of a poor immune system. High stress can also have a really big impact on your mood. So like I said, if you're feeling like more negative, frustration, anger, sadness, worry, fear, these emotions fuel cortisol, right? So they make the cortisol levels higher, and then the higher the cortisol and the longer the cortisol stays high in the bloodstream, the more inflammation can increase. And over the long term, this inflammation can make you feel fatigued, exhausted, overworked, overwhelmed, and you become run down. And the immune system cannot properly protect you from colds, flus, or viruses, or kind of get them out of the body as quickly, because the body is trying to deal with so many different stressors that are going on. So are you the kind of person that rarely gets sick, or do you find that you're getting sick all the time and it just seems like you go from one flu to the next cold, to the next flu, to the next cold? Do your colds and flus last for weeks or months, and do you often have to take antibiotics or some kind of prescription to get over them? These can all definitely be signs of a struggling immune system for sure. And left undone over the long term, like this is over years, but left undone and not dealt with, this inflammation that continues to build and these cortisol levels can contribute to worsened symptoms. So if you're already struggle with an autoimmune condition like arthritis or eczema, type 2 diabetes, this can make those symptoms worse, and or it can contribute to increased risk for arthritis, fibromyalgia, psoriasis, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, cancer, high blood pressure, etc. So it can increase your chances of getting some kind of dis-ease. And so we don't want that to happen. So that's why it's so important to get to the root of your symptoms, to really learn how to manage stress in a healthy way. Another thing I want to talk about pertaining to stress in your immune system is your gut health and how gut health impacts your immune system. So believe it or not, a huge part of our immune system is actually in our digestive tract. So bacteria in our gut influences the balance of our immune system. So the more unbalanced your bacteria flora is, or your gut flora is, from like antibiotic use, overeating of poor quality foods, alcohol, stress, inflammation, prescription drugs, for instance, too many pathogens can shift the immune system to having increased inflammation. And then that's where that leaky gut can come in, that permeability in the gut, where small particles of foods, bacteria, and other things are leaking out into the bloodstream. And then the immune system's having to attack all of those foreign things because they're not supposed to be there. So that can have an impact on your immune system. So the leakier your gut gets, essentially, the more stressed out the immune system can get. And you can also find that you feel more sensitive to more foods, you're getting bloated more often. It's not fun. And just to back up for a moment, so you know what a pathogen is. It's a bacteria, a virus, or other microorganism that can cause stress in the gut and can, again, contribute to higher chances of the leaky gut and dis-ease if left undealt with for a long time. If this goes on for a really long time and it's not dealt with, it does increase your chances for things like that to happen down the road, or you may already be experiencing that. And you may, if you notice your symptoms keep getting worse, it could be because of some of the stuff that I'm talking about today. So antibiotics. We get prescribed a lot of antibiotics and sometimes we need them. I've had to take them for different infections, or like when I had my appendix out, I had to take them, right? I know sometimes to help prevent or treat infections, doctors prescribe antibiotics, but it's the overuse of antibiotics and the changes in our eating habits to include higher amounts of refined foods, more refined sugars, things that are essentially made in a lab or really deep fried foods. This increase of antibiotic and processed food intake has had an impact on our microbiome, and your microbiome is where your gut flora lives in your GI tract, and it's changed it. And it's made it less diverse and less resilient, which essentially results in an increase of autoimmune and inflammatory diseases over time. And we've seen actually a big increase in this over the last few decades. So the more different kinds of healthy bacteria and gut flora you have in your microbiome, the better this supports your immune system. The less diversity you have with your gut flora or your microbiome, and the less healthy bacteria you have, the more stressed your immune system can become. So for example, when you take antibiotics, it kills all the bacteria to help get the infection out. So it kills all the good and the bad. And then what happens is the bad bacteria can take over more easily. The body can be in more of a fight or flight state from the killing and the infection, and you can have more inflammation. So that can have an impact on your gut flora. And if you don't rebalance your gut flora and it just stays that way after the antibiotics, again, you may notice you have more sensitive digestion, you're more bloated, you're more tired, brain fog, low sex drive, you have more PMS symptoms, your menopause symptoms get worse, you have more sugar, carb cravings, maybe it triggers more emotional eating, but I definitely know that these symptoms can happen from antibiotic use. So I wanted to explain that though, because it's so important to know the more diversity, the more different kinds of healthy bacteria you have in the large intestine, the better your gut health and immune system are going to become. And it's so interesting because our gut bacteria communicates with our immune system. And so again, the more diversity there is there, the more that it helps to support you in warding off those pathogens that contribute to the colds and flus, the bacteria and the viruses. So gut bacteria health is so important. I'm seeing more research. I'm seeing more like high level doctors and alternative medicine experts talking about this. And I'm loving it because I'm seeing it coming into more Western medicine as well, which is really exciting. And I think we're going to see a lot more connection between the gut and the brain. Gut and the mood, of course, is a big one, but your gut and your immune health are just so connected. And not only is, gut bacteria and the gut permeability, that leaky gut play a role, but your liver health as well. So your liver is part of your digestion and it filters through all of your toxins. It has hundreds, if not thousands of uses, and it's working all the time to filter all the toxins out of your body. So if your liver's overburdened with toxins, if it's overwhelmed, if you're eating a lot of refined foods, if you're dehydrated, not drinking enough water, it will struggle to filter through toxins, and your body will struggle to get the toxins out of the body. And so then you end up with this buildup of toxins in your blood, your tissues in your body. And the more toxic load you carry around, the higher chance you have of that inflammation, that inflammatory response. And so if you're eating those refined foods, deep fried foods, high alcohol consumption, high sugar intake, never do any form of gentle liver support, like even just lemon in your water can gently support detoxifying the liver, you can end up with more inflammation because your liver's overwhelmed, not able to detoxify. And that impacts your immunity because, again, that stress response and inflammation have a huge impact on your immune system and your body's ability to fight off those pathogens, those bacteria, those viruses before they become a cold or a flu and give you all of the symptoms that you experience. So gut health, liver, bacteria, stress plays such a role on your immune system. Another thing that plays a huge role on the immune system that a lot of people don't realize is emotional eating. So I do want to talk about emotional eating and low immunity. The No Sugarcoating podcast is proud to partner with Herbaland. Herbaland products are sugar-free, gluten-free, vegan, and made with love in Richmond, British Columbia. All of their vitamins and supplements come in gummy form, making them easy and fun to take. Their products are made for everyone to enjoy. Whether you are struggling with capsule fatigue, have trouble swallowing large capsules, or you simply love your vitamins tasting like delicious watermelon, Herbaland is for you. And a fun fact is that Herbaland is also the #1 gummy manufacturer in Canada. Be sure to check out more information and try your gummies at www.herbaland.ca. So there's kind of like this domino effect of different things that tends to happen for people. And I know this definitely was the case for me. So emotional eating is a vicious cycle. It's stressful, it's overwhelming, it's draining, it's exhausting to think about and obsess about food all the time, wanting to snack, having cravings, and then, giving into emotional eating and then feeling like you have to deprive, go on a diet and restrict to make up for it so that you don't gain weight or to make up for any weight gain that may have happened. And so this produces a big stress response. Emotional eating produces a huge stress response. I often see my clients with elevated cortisol levels because of the emotional eating and the negative emotions that one feels around the guilt of the emotional eating. So often when someone feels triggered to emotionally eat, there's stress. There's some form of stress trigger that's triggering you to want to go and eat, like fear, worry, guilt, shame, embarrassment, anger, sadness, hopelessness, whatever those emotions are. But because we're not taught how to feel our emotions and cope with them in healthy ways, we use the food to suppress or shove down or numb us from feeling those emotions. But before you eat, the stress response itself that you're having is enough to produce the cortisol. And again, the more often you're having that stress response and producing the cortisol, the more inflammation you may be producing, and you may notice that you're feeling more sensitive to foods, or you have more pain, or your skin's getting worse. So before you even eat, you're producing that stress response. And then of course you eat, and you often eat too much when you emotionally eat. You binge, you really overdo it. Even if you're just mindlessly snacking through the day, it is enough to stress out your digestive system. And often when people emotionally eat, they're eating refined foods. And they're eating a large amount of food, which takes a lot of energy for the digestive system to break down. And then because we're eating high amounts of foods and we're stressed, and perhaps you've taken prescription drugs or you've drank alcohol or you drink a lot of caffeine, this depletes the stomach acid, and therefore protein digestion doesn't happen as efficiently in the stomach. The stomach is where you break down your proteins, and we need the stomach acid to help us with that. So if your stomach acid levels are low, you're not going to break down your food, especially your protein, properly in the stomach. And it's going to enter the small intestine into large particles. And then that impacts your villi, your gut lining, and that again produces stress and inflammation in the small intestine. You're not able to absorb properly. And then that leaky gut's there, and those food particles, there they are, just leaking out into that bloodstream. And again, you have an immune response because those particles are not supposed to be in the bloodstream. So here we see that immune response happening again from the emotional eating, stressing out the digestive system, producing that inflammation and that stress response. That then suppresses your immune system because, again, you're impacting your white blood cell count production, and your body is in a heightened state of stress all the time instead of only small periods of time spread out. So antibiotic use, again, prescription drug use, this impacts the gut flora imbalance. And again, if you're on top of that struggling with emotional eating, especially drinking alcohol, eating a lot of sugar or foods with yeast in them, this will throw that gut flora balance off even more because sugar and yeast and alcohol feed the unhealthy bacteria or the gut imbalance that you already have with the microbiome or the gut flora. So the more you eat sugar and yeast and drink alcohol, the more you're feeding the unhealthy bad bacteria, and this can give you more sugar and carb cravings or alcohol cravings. And then again, you're triggered to eat more of those foods, which then feels frustrating and overwhelming. And then you have that stress response, and then you're stressing out your digestion and your immune system. So we can see how this is a vicious cycle. And a lot of people don't realize that the emotional eating has such a large impact on the immune system. And then you feel like you have to go on a restrictive diet and exercise a lot to, compensate for the overindulgence. And that produces more cortisol. And then again, those high cortisol levels impact the inflammation and your immune health. So remember, I can't stress enough, anything external or internal that stresses out the body, so overeating, undereating, the emotional eating, this impacts your inflammation and your cortisol levels. And not only the active emotional eating, but the negative emotions or stressors that you also feel after eating. So guilt, you're frustrated with yourself. I can't believe I did that again. You're angry, you're sad, you feel hopeless and disappointed. Like, is this ever going to end? You're embarrassed. Maybe you have anxiety, or you're now panicking about gaining weight. You feel like a failure. All of this, again, produces more of a stress response. So you're having stress response before you eat, while, and after. And then you're still trying to navigate life and all the stressors being thrown your way, and the overbooked schedule, which also, again, produces the stress response. So negative self-talk is another thing that I also believe impacts your stress hormones. So if you're negative self-talk all the time, you're always complaining, you're always feeling low, that suppresses the immune system because you're producing more of the stress hormone. And of course, inflammation in the gut. So more bloating, gas, discomfort, diarrhea, constipation can all be signs of inflammation in a stressed out digestive system. And so again, these digestive stressors also impact your inflammation and your immunity. Just the three are so connected: stress hormone, inflammation, and immunity. So building a healthy relationship with food, I think, is just like imperative. It's so important in order to have a healthy immune system. That's why I think so many people try to get healthy, and maybe they take supplements or you try different diets to build up your immune system. But if you're struggling with the vicious cycle of negative self-talk, emotional eating, stress eating, chronic dieting, over-exercising, and you're so obsessed and focused on food and your body, that is just such a big stressor. So we have to actually deal with that first. So if you are struggling with emotional eating, that's something that I work with my clients on first, because we have to get you to start, overcoming and gaining freedom from emotional eating, to give your body a break and your mind a break from all the stress that this vicious cycle puts on you. Like, as an example, I used to get sick all the time when I struggled with emotional eating, and my colds and flus would last a really long time. And now I maybe get like one sniffle for a couple days once a year. And I see this with my clients as well. They start off where they're sick all the time. They're catching colds and flus. Some of them even have to go to the hospital a couple times a year. And, then as they start to overcome emotional eating, balance their schedules, manage their stress, get into more positive self-talk, taking better care of themselves on all levels, physically, mentally, emotionally, and with their food, they balance their gut flora, we balance the digestion, and then all of a sudden, they're rarely getting sick. Even if they have kids bringing home colds and flus, they're rarely getting sick. It's such a powerful, life-changing shift if this sounds like you. So I think there's just so much to be said for your immune health, emotional eating, and stress. Your gut health plays a huge role. Your hormone health obviously plays a huge role, because that cortisol producing all the time, your body is just in this fight or flight response, and that has a huge impact on your immune health. The No Sugarcoating podcast is proud to partner with Karina Organics, which is actually a staple product in my house. Karina Organics is an all-natural hair, skin, and body-based company based out of North Vancouver that you definitely need to know about. They've been in business for 50 years and have a top-rated product line available globally for hair, skin, and body. Their body, hair, and skincare products are, in fact, the cleanest available on the market and have been tested by EWG. All products are made fresh to order after you place your order online, which I absolutely love. What other company does that truly? Be sure to check out their fabulous products at www.karinaorganics.com. My favorite is their deep treatment citrus shampoo and conditioner, as well as their leave-in conditioner and their mint body wash. So you definitely have to check them out. I love them. I went fully clean with my body care and my shampoo and conditioner, and I really wanted to find products that worked well for my hair and body, and they definitely do. Again, that's www.karinaorganics.com. So what are some simple ways to start to strengthen your immune system? Well, number one, if you struggle with emotional eating, binge eating, food addiction, or some form of eating disorder, it's so important for you to deal with that first. So if you want to reach out and talk to me about binge eating, emotional eating, or food addiction, take advantage of the coaching sale. I can help you to overcome emotional eating and gain freedom and build that healthy relationship with food, build your self-worth and your confidence so you really learn how to respect and love your body and take care of your body. Self-care is also key. So making sure that you look at your schedule, and if you have too many stressors on your plate or just too much on your plate in general, it's so important to start to prioritize and to start to make space for yourself, because who are you if you don't have your health? And if you're always sick, what kind of quality of life do you really have? So bringing in things that are going to calm the nervous system down, calm down that stress response so that your immune system can breathe, things like meditation, deep breathing, gentle yoga, journaling, getting out into nature, going for a walk, scheduling breaks in your schedule for you to check in with yourself, to stop and take a few minutes to breathe, or to have a healthy snack to keep your blood sugar balanced. All very important. Eating nourishing foods to support your immune system, garlic, onions, vitamin C rich foods like apples, bell peppers, and oranges. I love coconut oil because it's antiviral, antifungal. Even a teaspoon of honey a day, very antiviral. So there's lots of really good immune supporting foods. I can't stress enough how important it is to examine how much you have on your plate. Dealing with stressors around you, learning how to say no, dealing with people-pleasing, perfectionist, and overachieving mindsets. And what is below that, as I always say, is a low self-worth. So we have to build your self-worth so you're not feeling like you have to give the world to everyone else and deplete yourself. And then you end up with a suppressed immune system. You're the one that ends up stressed out. You're the one that ends up with the inflammation and the emotional eating and the hormone imbalances, whilst you take care of everyone else. And it's like, no, you need to take care of yourself so that you can relieve yourself of all of those symptoms and reduce your chance of, getting worse symptoms or ending up with illness or disease. Like, that's so key for you to work on your self-worth and, learn how to overcome those mindsets that are draining and exhausting and actually have a negative impact on your health. I think it's also important to, again, overcome, the diet mentalities and the over-exercising and the restriction, because that also has a massive stress impact. Get your gut health and hormone health checked and supported. Poor gut flora imbalances, again, have a huge impact on your cortisol, your inflammation, your body's immune system. Same with the food sensitivities, the liver imbalances, blood sugar. It's so important to investigate these pieces and get proper support to step by step bring them to balance. And you can do that with lifestyle changes. You can do that with healthy stress coping tools. You can do that with foods, teas, and spices, even a supplement here or there. But I really think it's about lifestyle changes, shifting the mindset. As you shift your mindset, you shift the way you behave, you shift the actions you're taking to be more supportive of your health. And as you do this and you feel better, you build confidence, you build respect and appreciation for yourself. You get excited and you're proud of yourself, and your moods are better and you're happier because you're feeling better. And I'm so passionate about this. I hope you can hear to my voice. Like, it's so amazing to see what happens when people take this on and make the changes and see their life change for the positive in so many different ways. I did it and was able to shift it. I support my clients through this every day, and it's absolutely amazing to see the shifts that happen. Powerful shifts, life-changing shifts. You deserve it as well. So I hope that you have enjoyed today's episode. As always, the show notes can be found at amberapproved.ca/podcast/205. Again, take advantage of the coaching sale. Email me at info@amberapproved.ca with the subject line fall coaching sale to save on the 1-year and 6-month coaching programs. Be sure to do that. As well, make sure you check out amberapproved.ca and check out the emotional eating quiz if you are curious if you're struggling with emotional eating. As well, if you have questions, if you have feedback about the podcast, if you have topic ideas, email me at info@amberapproved.ca. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And as I always say, there's no better time than the present to take action on your health. So make sure you take action now. Super excited to share. I have a really awesome guest coming on the podcast next week, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that. I have a really also exciting announcement that I'm going to be sharing with you guys next week. I'm going to be a podcast guest on one of the people that I followed for years, who's a celebrity down in Beverly Hills. And I'm going to be, I'll share more with you about that next week. So stay tuned. I can't wait to tell you who it is and what we're going to be talking about. So have a beautiful day, a great week. And I will look forward to sharing a whole new podcast with you next week again with a lovely friend. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe, review, and rate this podcast and share it with your friends. You can find me at amberapproved.ca and follow me on Instagram and YouTube at amberapproved. Join me next Sunday for another brand new episode and another step toward body freedom.